Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Time for another brilliant lecture at Sisseton, Wahpeton College, or in this case, for my peeps at Sisseton, Wahpeton College. And now, the brilliant professor himself, Professor Victor Singingigo. Yay! All right, now, we got to hurry up because I only have like 10 minutes before the next conference. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, at an assessment conference, and we are discussing, ways of measuring student learning. Very, very dry stuff. Be glad you're not here. And I promised that I was going to explain the term characterization. Ooh, I'm turning blue. That's because there's a data projector right over there. Anyway, I got to do this quickly. This is for the purposes of our class, Native Literature. Characterization, and I put it on my phone. I took some notes and I wrote it out the way I like it to be. I had a chat with ChatGPT and we came to a conclusion. How are we going to define characterization for Native American literature class, or just First Nations literature, because you guys know I'm part Canadian. Never mind, focus. Characterization. It is the way an author reveals what a character is like, a character in his or her fiction, that is. Through his or her appearance, that's the character, the person, the fictional person's appearance, personality, thoughts, words, actions, motivations, and inner life, and how other characters respond to them. So that's sort of like the gushin, I don't know how to say that in English, the personality, there we go. That's pretty much the personality of the people in the poem, the book, the story, the movie, what they look like, what they smell like, how do they behave, how do they talk, all that stuff. That's called characterization. How real does the person seem to be, or unreal? And there's a whole bunch of different kind of characters that we need to talk about, but we won't have enough time. I do want to highlight something important for Native literature, First Nations literature. That is, that for us natives, our literature often extends beyond the individual. It can also express and dramatize relationships among people, the community, the land, and the spirit world. You got that? Let me read that again because it's important. It might show up on a test. It can also express and dramatize relationships among people, the community, the land, and the spirit world. It often shows how identity is shaped through connection rather than individualization or individual behavior and isolation. Okay? So that's one of the things that distinguishes a lot of Native literature as opposed to non-Native literature. At least in my own observations, and many other Native writers and folks, our observations reveal that we look at how we function in our respective communities. I believe Daniel Heath Justice comments on this extensively in Why Indigenous Literatures Matter. See, the old nerd here has all these little bookmarks in here. I'm not going to read them right now because we don't have enough time, and I got to go to a seminar in 2 minutes. So I'm going to knock it off there because this is like 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and I will just have to make a separate video to explain, demonstrate some characterization. You know what? I'm going to bother you with Anakajuttuq or Anakajuttuq. I can never pronounce the fellow's name. I think it's on page 305, 306. This is going to demonstrate what I mean by a flat character. Oftentimes, a flat character is someone... 302 and 303. I was wrong. In our book, Read, Listen, Tell, 302, 303, a fella named Anakajuttuq. And I'm going to jump right into the story and explain what do I mean by flat character. First, Anakajuttuq was a cloud. But since a cloud will not stand up, he soon became tired of being a cloud, and he turned into a caribou. He ate black soil and became very thin. The rest of the caribou were fat. So one day he asked, "What do you eat to keep fat?" "I eat a lot, but I am thin." He showed the other caribou what he ate, and they said, "Eat caribou moss." You see, the moss we're talking about is yellowish. Also, eat a bit of the moss that forms on the rocks. So, Anakajuttuq started to eat caribou moss and became fat. He was now happy about his appearance, but when the other caribou played games and racing, he was always last. Again he asked, "How do you come to run so fast?" They said, "Take long steps and try to keep your hair straight." So he did what he was told. When the caribou were playing again, he joined in and kept up with no trouble. Soon, the migrating season came, and the caribou were on their way to where they would spend the winter. They came to a lake and stopped to feed near it. While they were eating, one of the caribou saw hunters far away. They ran to the lake with all their might, but there was enough daylight left, and the hunters killed many caribou. Anakajuttuq was afraid to go in the water. He kept walking back and forth along the lake, and the hunters were coming closer to him all the time. Finally, another caribou told him to go in and cross the lake. He was swimming and swimming as hard as he could to survive, but the hunters were gaining on him. Finally, one hunter caught up with him and thrust down his harpoon. He tried not to think about the pain there would be when the harpoon went into him, but it was nothing but an itchy feeling, and everything he could see became black. When he regained consciousness, he was a wolf. He chased caribou, but he could never keep up. Now I'm going to stop it there because I don't want to sit and read the whole story, and I'm late for this conference. It says here that he reincarnated as a wolf, and he was asking the other wolf how to run fast and how to eat and blah, 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 blah. And let me see, he got trapped, and then he got speared and killed, and then he became a seal. And the other seal are teaching him how to be a seal. And he got killed again, and he was reincarnated into a human baby. And this is what I mean by a flat character. We don't really know what this guy Anakajuttuq's personality is like. A flat character is usually what I just said. A character that you can't really see much of his or her personality, but rather the flat character is trying to demonstrate a theme or a thought pattern or some idea. So that's why you won't see a whole lot of personality in Anakajuttuq, because he's conveying a concept rather than his own individuality. Now, I'm going to sit here and just yak all the time away. It's 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm running late. So we're going to stop it there. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.